May 2020 UK, first 100 days. Anyone instead died of COVID. The very first thing any good government does as soon as there's a health crisis is lock everyone down and close small business. Not businesses run by large corporations, because look, you've got to be sensible. And when people notice there's not an actual health crisis and protest, concerned about losing small business and wealth, the government sent in the police and threatened to damage the health of anyone who noticed that there was no actual health crisis. And more than a year later, the results of the response to the non-existent health crisis. And finally, 2 years later, on 24th of February 2022 to be exact, the last remaining domestic COVID restriction came to an end. Finally, the days of endless skyrocketing debt and business closures was over. One would think, but unfortunately, on the exact same day for the UK, you just could not make this up. The next global crisis, the continued skyrocketing debt and small business closures, arrives on the scene. And immediately the Brits are told hard times are coming. And this time it's the energy crisis continues to cause pubs to close. You couldn't read about it. So the UK debt continues to skyrocket. That's an extra $1 billion on top of what's already been given. Is another $300 million. Just throw the money at Ukraine. The UK energy crisis, bigger than a pandemic while blamed on the war, is actually caused by, and you probably guessed it, the government intervening unnecessarily in the lives of people. Well, everyone can't be losers. When wealth is lost, it's transferred from one to the other. Whose profits were up from owning Tesco and all the other large corporations? Oh, and no surprises there. They also got into the public purse during that health crisis. Now, if you're a betting person, you'd have to have some money that perhaps maybe the Ukraine, there might be an avenue there. No drum roll needed. A few points to finish. How the hell does Tony Fink know the outcome of the war and who he's going to be dealing with? Ukraine is a basket case financially. They've got zero money.
Remember, we are talking about a country that is currently in open war with Russia. And no, that is not the only reason why they are so poor. Just why is Ukraine so poor? What is going on in this country where 30 years after leaving communism, they're worse off than they were as part of the Soviet Union?
I'll put the link to this video in the description. It's really good. But if they don't have money, what do they have?
Ukraine has natural resources of all kinds. Iron, uranium, and all kinds of metals. They also have some of the most fertile land for agriculture in the world. I'm talking about the so-called Chernozem, or Black Earth, which is a type of soil that is apparently fantastic for growing crops. In fact, for decades, Ukraine was the breadbasket of the Soviet Union.
So after 30 years of Russian oligarchs, they were the poorest in Europe despite all of those resources. This what appears to be the gangsters in the insatiable global wealth hoarders corporation world of the West muscling in on the action of the gangsters in a Russian oligarchy. And the fact that Putin timed his war on the exact day, which would have been around the same as all the other nations, like ours was April 2022, but for the end of COVID to transition all of that devastation on the people of the world, using a war as part of the gangsters' wheeling and dealing achieves a couple of aims. Number one is that they get to funnel public money to the companies that they own. And the conquering of any nation requires the killing of men, young men of fighting age. Now, Putin may well be in on it, given the timing was the exact date of the end of the COVID crisis in the UK, or essentially the West. But also that deals are being inked, and what the outcome of the war hasn't been determined yet. Two confirmed outcomes are that working class men, or the rich men have already left, are going to die, and the riches of the nation will never be theirs, just like everywhere else around the world, including Australia.